Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today at the Chainlink Spring 22 Hackathon and joining the Filecoin Green team as you get green with Phil. So for the next 30 minutes to 45 minutes, various people from the Filecoin Green team and then also other companies that work closely with us will be sharing some feedback and some information about what we're currently doing at Filecoin Green. So the first person who will go is Alan Ransel, and he's a project lead of Filecoin Green. And then Hide Hoglad, who is the co-founder of Descent, will actually show you the solar panels. And then Beltran Baracao, who's a co-founder of Zero Labs, will talk about how Zero Labs and Filecoin Green work together. And then Momchilo and Mark will talk about the Filecoin Green dashboard and tools. So I hand it over to Alan.
Hey, happy to be here. Really excited to talk through what we're doing at Filecoin Green and sort of give an overview to the project. Thank you, Aureen, for introducing it and setting up our workshop at this awesome event. So Filecoin Green is our effort at Protocol Labs and in the Filecoin ecosystem to make rich environmental accounting a Web3 superpower. There are two different sides to this coin. So one of the things that we're trying to do is make Filecoin and everything built on Filecoin verifiably environmentally sustainable. And the other part of this is building the world's best tools to measure and reduce environmental impacts into Web3 products. People often think of these as separate questions, right? They think of the environmental impact of blockchains in sort of a separate category from what can blockchains do to improve environmental accounting. Either you have a project that is doing something else in Web3 that is not mainly environmentally focused, and you're trying to understand and reduce those impacts, or you have a project that is mainly about, say, offsets or the power grid, and you're trying to do that project independently, right? But we really see these as part of the same coin. We really think that whenever you're doing something in Web3, the world we'd like to build is one in which you are able to understand what the environmental impacts of what you're doing are and take action to reduce those impacts and mitigate those impacts. And so we believe that by building the greenhouse gas protocol, so the greenhouse gas protocol is the gold standard as to how you measure emissions throughout the economy and reduce them. By building the greenhouse gas protocol into Web3, we're going to allow verifiable environmental data to flow through supply chains in minutes, not in months. And what we mean by that is that typically in the existing economy, companies will do environmental reporting only every year or so. What that means is that if their customers rely on those reports, that data is going to be old by the time those customers get those reports, right? And then their customers' customers are going to be at least a year late to the game. And that's just not a good system if we want to decarbonize our economy quickly. And so we really believe that building all of this stuff into Web3-based tooling, and you're going to hear a lot more about that in a few minutes, building all of this into Web3-based tooling is the way to pull that sort of data through the economy much, much more quickly and not just improve Web3, which we're doing, but also improve environmental accounting beyond Web3. So we're doing four main things in Filecoin Green. We are building tools in order to show you what the energy use is of storing data on Filecoin. We're connecting the Filecoin network itself to renewable energy. We're supporting SPs, and you're going to hear from one of them, and becoming more environmentally sustainable. And we're building an environmental Web3 developer community, and you're going to hear more about the tools that we and partner organizations are building in order to allow people within the Filecoin ecosystem and beyond the Filecoin ecosystem to understand their impacts and to connect those to renewable energy and to build that greenhouse gas protocol into Web3. And so you're going to hear a little more later about the tools that we've built in order to understand what the environmental impacts of storing data on Filecoin are. This is an overview from our research that we've done and published as to what the actual energy use of Filecoin is. So about 0.87% of global data storage capacity is in Filecoin right now. So Filecoin's pretty big compared to the rest of the internet at the moment, it's getting up there. Considering that it's only a year and a half old, something like that, it's amazing how quickly the network has grown. So 0.87% of data storage center capacity is on Filecoin, and Filecoin uses about 0.67% of data center energy use, right? So it's not that energy intensive to store data on Filecoin. And that energy intensity falls as the network grows. So as the network grows, it gets more efficient to store data on Filecoin. And so part of the tools that you're going to hear more about are an open source model that we've used to take proofs on the Filecoin blockchain, use those proofs to show how many computational and data storage resources individual storage providers have contributed to Filecoin. So that's number 2 here. We've taken those storage providers at specific locations and mapped them. And then we have used this great tooling from this company called Zero Labs in order to match those storage providers to renewable energy. So if you look at this map, you're able to see, and this map is open source online. If you go to a link I'll send at the end, I believe it's tinyurl Filecoin Green overview, Filecoin-Green overview. You'll be able to get links to everything here. So you can go to this map that's open source and see if you're storing data on Filecoin, and you can map that to a storage provider. You can see where that storage provider is, how much energy that storage provider is using, and if they're using renewable energy, you can see not just in general how much renewable energy they're using, but you can see which specific solar or wind facility is producing the renewable energy to store your data. And so again, the last of these 10-minute talks here is going to be about how to use these tools. But there's a ton of tools that we're building in order to give you as a developer this granular, very specific view into exactly what your energy impacts are when you're storing on Filecoin. So the goal of all of this is to pull sustainability data through the value chain. So here's a view of the value chain that that you're part of if you're storing data on the Filecoin network. Electricity and hardware go in. Filecoin storage providers provide this data storage service, and if you're building something on top, then you're just upstream or just downstream of the storage providers in this whole value chain. So we want it to be as clear to you as possible exactly what the environmental impacts are, and specifically what the energy consumption is of every action that you take in Web3. So for every step along that value chain, we're providing tools in order to measure what your inputs are, and then understand how those inputs affect your outputs, and then pass that data to your outputs, to your customers or your clients along that chain. What that then allows you to do, because we're providing this rich data set that makes you contextually aware of what your impacts are, which gives you the ability to make choices to reduce your impacts. And so if you're a client, you can see for a given Filecoin storage provider, what is their energy intensity, and what if they're using renewable energy, you can then choose to store data with Filecoin storage provider that scores higher when it comes to these green credentials. Some of this has already been built out. You're going to hear more about the tools that have been built out. Some of this we're working on now, and we'd really like to hear from you in order to understand what tools you want to use in order to make your dApps more environmentally sustainable. So you should also know that there's this website you can go to, green.filecoin.io, if you want more information about this. We're also starting a sustainable blockchain summit and hackathon that's going to be in June. So the hackathon starts in the middle of June. The Sustainable Blockchain Summit culmination of that hackathon is going to be at the end of July in Paris, right after ETHCC. And if you want to get more information, or if you want to get involved, please, you can find some overview slides, not actually exactly this presentation, but an expanded version of this presentation at tinyurl.com/filecoin-green-slides. And really excited to hear your questions and let you know more about what we've been doing. And I'm gonna pass it off to Hide.
Thank you so much, Ellen. Welcome, guys. My name is Hide Hoogland. I'm the co-founder of Decent. We are a data center slightly above Amsterdam, especially built for everything Web related, everything with Filecoin and IPFS. And I'm really happy to work with Ellen on Filecoin Green. It's going to be a little interactive show. I didn't prepare any slides. There was no time. But I will show you all of the solar panels that we have purchased together with Filecoin Green. And the funny thing is, right now, we are actually fully off-grid, running the whole data center on the panels alone. But it is 10 past 5 p.m., so it will be another half an hour, and then we'll be using a little bit of grid electricity. But we are really happy to do this. It has been a crazy last 6 months to buy any of these panels, because the whole of Europe is purchasing these due to the electricity prices. But I will show you here. We have about 250 panels installed on the roof. These are now operating at about 80 kilowatts an hour. So we are fully off-grid. We can do about 1.2 megawatts a day. And that will be around 40% of our yearly usage. So we are really happy with that. All the rest of the electricity that we use are being offset by wind racks. So we are fully green, but the whole renewable part of the solar farm is just awesome for us. And we are really happy to have been working on this with Ellen. We are now also building the tools to show them the usage of all of our Filecoin machines, all of our cooling devices, and all of the other parts that use electricity inside our data center. So we can clearly see the exact amount of electricity that we are using, the amount that we are offsetting, and the amount that we are using at night. So we can get a clear image on how much, how green we actually are. In the near future, we will be expanding to larger usage, because we are expanding as an SP. So we will be looking into other options, maybe wind, or expanding the solar farm even more. But that will be after all the toolings are created. So that will be in a few months to a few weeks. And looking forward to the future, guys. If you have any questions, are they able to do that now, or will they do that later?
It's a good question. I don't see any questions for now in the comments. Please drop them in if you do have any, and I think we'll be able to circle back around and hopefully answer some.
That's awesome. Okay, guys. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Hide. I think now we're going to hear from Beltran, who's at Zero Labs and is building the global renewable energy marketplace that is going to allow you to connect your dApps to renewable energy.
Yes, I'm trying to for the slide with that. Having a screen and I'll let me know when you seeing it. Hear you anymore? Did you guys?
Hey, Beltran, there's a lot of buzzing. Is there any mic situation you can use?
Let me try this. Better. Hopefully it's better. Not sure I can. Come on. In mic I have. Input, just lower the. Hear me better now? Not better. Fortunately, and alcohol maybe, and I can do a different thing.
Maybe while we wait for Beltran to come on, we can hear from Lutza and Mark.
Yes, absolutely. Happy to go in the meantime. Hopefully Beltran can sort the mic issues here. My name is Mark Johnson. I'm an environmental solutions architect on the Filecoin Green team. Myself and my colleague Mosa, who is a senior software engineer on the team, will be presenting a quick overview of the dashboard, the Filecoin Green dashboard that Alan just talked about, as well as some of the tooling that we have in development. So let me quickly just share my screen. And go to the slideshow just to make sure. Can I get a indication to make sure that we can see this? All good. Yep. Awesome. Wonderful. So I just want to quickly revisit a few of the slides that Alan went through earlier, and to talk about the mission behind Filecoin Green. We are building the Web3 native monitoring and reporting tools for publicly verifiable sustainability claims. And we are doing this in kind of a tiered approach, right? Obviously focusing first and foremost on the Filecoin ecosystem, but building the infrastructure along the way that can be leveraged by other Web3 networks, and then hopefully in the long term be leveraged by, say, legacy industries, whether that be the global steel supply chain, lithium, aluminum, cobalt, you name it. We really want to bring rich environmental accounting to the world of Web3 to bring more transparency and verifiability to how environmental attributes are flowing through connected value chains. Within our first set of ambitions, we are taking this four-staged approach to driving the Filecoin energy consumption and therefore the emissions profile below zero. And the first step in which we're doing that is by evaluating the energy use of the Filecoin network. We have built a really robust dashboard, which I'll showcase in just a moment, that allows us to have a holistic understanding of the energy consumption profile of not only the entire network, but also each individual storage provider that is storing data on behalf of clients. The second thing that we're doing is connecting the network to renewable energy. As Alan mentioned earlier, and as hopefully we'll hear from Beltran, the primary market instruments that we are using to connect the network to renewable energy is renewable energy credits, or RECs, which are really, really robust mechanism to ensure that any one individual storage provider operation is actually procuring all 100% renewable energy for their own energy consumption needs. Ever so briefly, step 3 and step 4. For step 3, we are supporting Filecoin storage providers in moving towards a decarbonized and sustainable future through a series of guidance documents as well as green grants to help them move in the right direction. And as Hide mentioned earlier, one primary utilization of those green grants is to help deploy renewable energy resources on the roofs or in the surrounding area of storage providers' operations. And then 4, through exercises like this meetup and through hackathons and other various means, we're trying to really catalyze and build an environmental Web3 developer community to get more people interested in working on projects at the intersection of crypto and climate. So just taking it back to that first step, I want to show you guys the ways in which we're evaluating the energy use of Filecoin. As Alan mentioned earlier, Filecoin is really unique in the fact that we have all these on-chain proofs of the resources that storage providers are committing to the network on a day-to-day basis. And that allows us to have a really, really robust understanding of what the energy consumption of the entire network is. We have built a really robust model, and that has enabled us to create these lower bounds estimate and upper bound metrics of the energy utilization of the entire network, and as I mentioned earlier, of individual storage providers themselves. Melissa will talk a little bit more about this open source model and the dashboard in just a moment, but just want to note, if you just go to filecoin.energy, you can look at this dashboard and interact with API to better understand what the energy consumption profile of the entire network as well as individual storage providers is. Secondly, ever so quickly, just want to talk about that way in which we are connecting Filecoin, the Filecoin network and individual storage providers to renewable energy via RECs. The tried and true approach to decarbonizing operations, whether it's in the corporate landscape or in other areas, is by 1, conducting a very, very comprehensive carbon accounting exercise, 2, minimizing and mitigating those emissions in all forms possible at your disposal, and then 3, where you have no other means to mitigate within your operational boundaries, that's the small little area in which traditional carbon offsets have a role to play. However, more times than not, most corporate actors or anybody looking to decarbonize their operations generally do kind of a hand-wavy carbon accounting exercise and then go seek the the lowest cost carbon offsets. And we are very confident that that does not make a very strong environmental claim, and that's why we are committing so much effort and so many resources to developing these really, really transparent and verifiable, say, end-to-end audit trails that showcase how energy consumption profiles are directly linked to renewable energy resources and how they are decarbonizing their operations over time. And here again, Mosa will dive into some of the various tools that we are developing to and hope to and are exposing to you all, so that we can so that it can be leveraged and so that you all have a better understanding of what the environmental attributes and or footprint of your your applications are. So without further ado, I will switch it over to Mosa and invite him to come up here on stage. I believe, Mosa, you also want to share your own screen, correct?
Well, I'll try, and if I'm not able to do it, I will ask you to share it again. Okay?
Perfect. Yep. I will stop sharing now.
Okay. So I'll try to share my screen. So sharing screen is easiest. Okay. Well, I guess I will be able to do it. Just let me know. Do you see my screen?
You are good to go.
Super. Yeah. Thank you. So.
My name is quickly though. Could you just put it in slideshow view so we can get a little?
Well, I have links in this document, so I would like maybe to actually open links, and it will. If it's is it small? Is it too small to be seen on a screen at the moment? Yeah. Okay.
No, I think you're okay.
I'll try this way. Yeah, I'll try this way, and if it's needed, I'll switch to share screen. Okay. So my name is Moza. I'm a software developer at Filecoin Green, and I will talk briefly about. What are we doing and where are we now when we speak about renewable energy use and energy consumption within Filecoin network, and making all this data available to developers for some future hackathons. So what we did already, basically, we already made available at IPFS all the attestation documents that you can actually click, in the presentation and see there. And all the data related to renewable energy purchases. So we made it available at IPFS at the moment. And in line with this, in parallel with this, we also made like simple tools basically to showcase how this data can be used. For example, this previewer is just helping us to browse the data available at IPFS regarding the renewable energy certificates, data available inside, and attestation documents, and etc. etc. Also, there is a GitHub source that you can use, that you can actually hack on and build on top of it. Yet, this is basically not the most important piece of, let's say, source data that we are actually having at the moment available now. Maybe the most comprehensive data source at the moment, not maybe, but definitely, is actually Filecoin.energy API. Filecoin.energy is actually a live website containing all the data regarding all service providers, all storage providers in Filecoin network, and their use of energy in the Filecoin network. And sorry for this. And basically, this API is already production ready. So whatever you see in Filecoin Green .energy website here is basically coming from the API Benetit. So this API is already production ready. What are we doing at the moment is actually we are working on documenting it. Once we have it documented fully, we will actually expose it to developers for use in future hackathons. As I said, the data inside this API that you can actually get with this API is quite comprehensive. And let me list what you can actually get out of there. So this is like, you can actually get the energy intensity, you can actually get the renewable energy ratio, you can get energy consumption rate, you can get energy used to seal data, energy used to store data, cumulative energy, and etc., etc. And this you can get from the beginning of time, from Epoch 0 for all the storage providers in Filecoin network. So this is like a most comprehensive source of data that we have at the moment. I hope that we will hear from Beltran in a few moments about the what we are actually doing with our friends from Zero Labs. And with them, actually, we are going to make all this data available at Energy Web chain as well. So this is like additional layer with smart contracts that is becoming available for developers to actually build on top of it. We just heard a minute ago or a few minutes ago from Hidi from Decent about the solar panels and actually the use of renewable energy from solar panels that they're actually having in their data center. And that's great, but that's not the only great thing that actually Decent is doing. In parallel with this, Decent is also providing an API showing exactly in real time the data showing how much renewable energy they are actually getting from the solar panels. And this is there was a question, I believe, in a chat mentioning this, and this is exactly the way how in the future we will be able to monitor actually not just energy consumption, but also the production of renewable energy in real time. And this is great, and this is something that we would like to actually see from many storage providers in Filecoin network as well. For the end, I would just say that basically in the presentation you can click all these links, and one example of how actually you can use and combine all these data sources is provided in a presentation, and this is just to actually open your mind to basically show you how you can use all this data. For example, this dashboard, simple dashboard, is just showing the data, combining the data sources from Filecoin.energy API, and then we combine this data with the Zero Labs Renewable Energy Certificates API, which show us how much of this data is actually coming from your renewable sources. So that would be more or less all for now from my side, and I will give back the floor to Mark.
Wonderful. Thanks, Mosa. Awesome overview of all the tooling that we have in the works now, as well as hope to enable in the near future. I don't see Beltron back on this channel yet, so I want to raise it to Alan or Oren. Do we have an indication of whether or not Zero Labs will be able to present?
I do not. It looks like Beltran was having some issues with his phone connection. I think if people have questions about anything we talked about in the chat, we can definitely answer them.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's turn it over to Q&A.
I think the first one comes from Tippy, who asks, by having access to detailed data and accessible dashboard on each storage provider, we can make choices. Is it easy to sort and choose who we store with?
So we're building the tools to be able to do that right now. What we have is what Moza just showed, which is if you have a storage provider that you're storing with, you're able, or one that you are considering storing with, you are able to go to the dashboard or pull data from the API and look at how much energy they use over a given period of time and how much renewable energy they've purchased over that same period of time, and get an idea from that how green this individual storage provider is, right? What we're working on doing is building that whole workflow out. So, in a month or two, I think it should be a lot easier to take that, go to the reputation system and, sort by renewable energy, or, work through Estuary or connect this with Texel or other tools that people are using. But currently, right, that is the workflow. It's to go to use the dashboard API and compare them.
And maybe just to add my 2 cents to that and to address Snowy OXS's question there at the end, we are building the tools to allow for you to have informed insights on the emissions profile of individual storage providers, not only their energy consumption as a base metric, but also via connecting to renewables or without that, to understand what the emissions profile of that individual SP operation is, because as you pointed out, different locations have different energy grid mixes. So it's not always totally apparent as to what percentage of the energy mix is coming from, say, coal versus natural gas versus, maybe nuclear or other resources. But by building the emissions calculations into some of the tooling that we have in development, you'll have much better insights into that, so you can make informed decisions on, hopefully who your storage provider is that you interact with. I hope that addresses it.
I can share this dashboard too to get an idea of, if you, let's see, is this being shared? You see my screen?
Not right now. Oh, yes.
All right, shut up. Nice. So to get a better idea also of this question of what type of renewable power that an individual storage provider is using. So, you can see like Mozza showed this dashboard, you can see the energy consumption rate. You can dial in an individual SP and, get an idea of what their energy use is. And so you can zoom this out and say, over the past year, say, for this particular storage provider, this is their energy consumption. And this is the renewable energy they've purchased. What you can do then is, if you click this link at the top, this will take you to the Zero Labs website. This is some of what Beltran was going to talk about. And you can see what renewable energy they've already purchased, and you can see what contracts they have. And for all of that renewable energy, you're able to see what that energy source is. So, you mentioned nuclear in the chat. You can see if they're buying hydropower or if they're buying solar or wind. Then you can click through and you can get all this information via an API. You can also, if you want to do sort of forensics yourself, you can look at the actual literal renewable energy certificate that was produced, showing that the storage provider bought renewable energy. And from that, you're able to see, in a lot of detail, not just, you're able to see the amount of energy used, right? You're able to see if they were using renewable energy, like you were talking about in the chat, like how much renewable energy they used and what source it came from. So say, a zero carbon source like nuclear, or say other zero carbon renewable sources like wind, solar, hydro. And then you're able to see, because you can get access to this individual certificate, like specifically who was producing that renewable energy that was being used to store your data. And that's the type of visibility throughout a supply chain that we're really working to build in order to give you, both automatically through APIs and just sort of forensically, if you're interested in looking into a claim someone made, the ability to do this in a really, really granular and verifiable way.
And Alan, I think that it was a great segue to potentially bring in Beltran back up on stage here, who I see is now in the chat again.
Looks like he's back.
Can you hear me better now? Still buzzing? Yes, we made it. Okay, so thank you. And yes, excellent segue. Let me share the screen. And window, can I share a screen? Chrome tab? No, window. Entire screen. I'll just go with this. And please confirm when you're seeing the slides. I cannot hear you. Yes. Okay, perfect. We are all set. Thank you. So yeah, thanks for introducing us so well. And we are at Zero Labs. We've been working with Alan and Filecoin for some time. We started at Energy Web. For those that don't know, it's a non-profit dedicated to building decentralized technology for the energy sector, and they've built their own EVM compatible chain based on Ethereum, of course. And they spearheaded the Crypto Climate Accord, and together we've started this project for Filecoin when we were at Energy Web, but the team is now called Zero Labs, and we are an independent startup. And you have been talking about this, and Alan has been talking about this, so I'll just go very fast on this. The biggest problem in climate change is energy. Like 73% of the greenhouse gases are emitted by the energy industry. There is, of course, a lot of nuances there. And what we want to do is electrify all this. So our mission is bringing down to zero these numbers. And how we're doing it is kind of simple and complex at the time, when we are in a crypto community call, so you might understand a lot of these words. What we do is we tokenize renewable energy certificates. These are turned into NFTs, and we are going to talk about what renewable energy certificates are, and some of you have already done so. We are turning them into Web3 building blocks so that developers like yourselves in this hackathon, you can build stuff with it, cool stuff with it. And we use the motto of programmable money into programmable decarbonization. This is what we are imagining, that if we give this tool in the hands of developers, we give the tool of sustainability in the hands of developers, Web3 developers, we might have a revolution that could accelerate the programmability, the decarbonization efforts. And of course, we are, through this, democratizing access, making it easy for businesses and individuals to easily buy and maybe trade renewable energy, and transparently prove it. This is what Alan was talking about it. So all these are a bunch of words. We are going to unpack it. First is this: we tokenize renewable energy certificates. For those that don't know what renewable energy certificates, they are a proof that 1 megawatt hour of green energy has been put into a grid. And this is already where one of the limitations of this tool comes in, because 1 megawatt hour is a big amount of energy. It equates to 1 month, more or less, of an American household, or 2.5 or 3 months of an European average household. Okay, so that's where we are at. And this is one of the biggest limitations, because it's already a big amount. If you want to decarbonize just this StreamYard call, for example, you cannot do it. And what we are building through the power of fractional NFTs is enabling that. And these RECs, or renewable energy certificates, they have different names in different places. They are just PDFs issued by registries across the world. There's different standards. They are government mandated. What we are doing is turning that legacy system into a digital, fast, easy, programmable environment. And why we need these RECs is because they are the only way to actually prove that your energy is green. Once an electron has been put into a grid, there's no way to know if your electron was green or if it was coming from a fossil fuel power plant, unless you hold that PDF that tells you, hey, you are the owner. And for the crypto community, you kind of already see that these are NFTs. NFTs are proofs, digital proofs of digital ownership of a file. And this is what we are doing. They are non-visual NFTs. I should have said it at the beginning, because people think of NFTs, you know, the art kind, the Bored Apes and stuff like that. But these are non-visual NFTs. And you might have heard of carbon offsets. They are slightly different, because in carbon offsets, you are buying the efforts of some other project, like a forest somewhere in Papua New Guinea or whatever, in Brazil, that has conserved land, and through that forest maybe capture some greenhouse gases. Here is different, because the effort, it's your own. You are the same person doing the activity through these certificates. So this is a primer, very fast, on renewable energy certificates. And the problem is that the industry is ripe for Web3 innovation. It is gated, it is accessible only to big buyers. Don't misunderstand me. It has been designed like this. It's not their fault. Okay, it's slow. Like, their procurement processes is very, very slow, and we want to work with current suppliers also to make it easy, digital, fast. Okay, and it's disconnected. Everybody has different databases where they keep track of these things. Even if the registries have been born to verify that there's no double spending of these energy certificates, I think that's where a blockchain has been born for. You know, that's obvious that it's what a blockchain is for. And so what I've been saying many times, we are making it the opposite. We're making it easy, fast, digital, liquid, permissionless, so that you guys can innovate in whichever way, and programmable. We are building these proofs so that it's not kind of like in a airplane, hey, do you want to decarbonize this flight? Check this box, and then you don't see where that money has gone through. We want that transparency that the blockchain can bring, and I'm going to show you, elevating that to make it so that even non-crypto people can understand that there was that transaction and that transparency. And we are making it decentralized and permissionless. You kind of already understand what this means. We are tokenizing, so we built a protocol to turn these PDFs from registries into NFTs, that they have powers. You all know the powers of NFTs, especially we talked about fractionalizable. We can go down to the watt level, to the watt hour level, if you want. You can combine it into different ways. We want to make them into building blocks you can innovate with, okay? And transparently prove it. This is where Alan showed you one of the examples. This is a story, for example, of a Filecoin miner or storage provider in Filecoin speak that has bought 168 megawatt hours from China. For example, their servers were in China, not relevant in this case, at an average price of $1, more or less. And this was done for Q1 2021. So renewable energy certificates, or the claim, the environmental claim, is that you spent a specific amount of energy in a specific location and for a specific time frame. These are kind of the three properties of these renewable energy certificates. And we are building that transparency. So this sand key diagram that is built inside of these proofs shows you from the contract of the seller to the tokenization of that contract to maybe the redemption. This is a word that is specific to this kind of tool or asset, the renewable energy or the carbon offsets. They get redeemed or canceled. It means that they cannot be transferred to anybody else, and whoever it has been redeemed to, it's the final owner. So it's a kind of an NFT that can be locked and never transferred again. You can imagine it like this until you have the proof page. And we are exploring ways to make this proof page more readable and to understand, besides a cold number, how to turn this into a more human readable and understanding the impact. This is actually an oldish presentation. We are going to release very soon an updated version of this, and we are going to reveal it in a week or so. And so less is more, but zero is better. This is our motto, that you can finally do all these transactions and greenify your business. These are some numbers from the projects that we've done with Filecoin. We should update this because there's more right now. And we are enabling the small businesses and individual, okay, to buy renewable energy and transparently prove it. This is where the real opportunity is, to enabling small buyers to participate. The democratization power of Web3 is what we are trying to bring to a Web2 context, okay? So we do have the tokenization layer, but we're building an API on top that makes it very simple with a Web2 experience, buying and redeeming these certificates, okay? And of course, there's advantages in the case of Filecoin storage providers. There is a reputation system. I lost a bit of the presentation, so I don't know if you guys talked about it, but we are trying to bake, like in this case, crypto economic incentives into becoming green. In the case of Filecoin storage providers, this reputation system, one of the variables of this reputation system will be how green they are. And if theoretically, if they are greener, they will get a higher score, and that means they will win more bids, for example. This is a simple example which might not turn out to be true. We don't know how this will unfold, but of how baking crypto economic incentives into becoming green can unfold through programmable Web3. Of course, we're working to decarbonize other blockchains. Also, we've received a lot of requests to decarbonize Bitcoin and other proof of works systems, and working to decarbonize maybe also Ethereum transactions and stuff like that, until it's proof of stake, but maybe even then. And this is more or less what I would like to leave you with. This is more of an invitation for you at this hackathon to join us in this revolution and think of this as a Lego brick you can build on top. And we want to enable you. So if you have ideas, you want to use these tools, come and talk to us on our Discord, and we'll be happy to help you and listen to your use case and help you build it eventually. So this is more or less where I will leave you at, and hope you can join us in decarbonizing crypto and beyond. Thank you, guys. I'll stop sharing.
Awesome. Thanks, Beltran.
Thank
you. Any questions?
Any other questions?
Yeah. I don't see you on the side screen. Sorry, I missed that.
Beltran, can I just say that I love your visuals there. The Uncle Sam at the end asking for, asking you to help is great.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a call to action. We have this this need, and I've spoken about carbon offsets. There's a lot of tokenized carbon offset, and I need to make the note that we are brothers in arms in the same battle. The two tools are needed, so they are a very interesting tool. If you developers want to explore that as well, for sure do. Just join the battle for climate change, for the climate crisis.
That's a really salient point, and that's something that I touched on. I think you're reconnecting at this time, but the tried and true approach to decarbonizing is carbon accounting, mitigate and minimize your emissions, and then there is obviously a use case for offsets, but they should be more or less of a last effort to decarbonize your operations, and you should first try to mitigate the emissions within your operational boundaries, and that is what you guys are enabling via these tokenized RECs. And I think, and we think, that creates a much more robust and transparent and verifiable way to showcase how you're moving towards the decarbonized future.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and any electric behavior, I think if we electrify everything, maybe it becomes about electricity more than offsetting. Although the two tools, for historical perspective, also might always be needed. Yeah.
Any other questions before we head out? Feel free to drop them in the chat on YouTube.
Is there a way to see how many people are connected? Not. Let's change the world with IPFS, Leo says. Yes.
I love it, Leo. Let's do it.
Thanks.
Maybe I could add about that. I was forgetting a connection with Filecoin, which is these proofs, of course, need to be decentralized. So we are going to store them on Filecoin, IPFS, but Filecoin at the beginning. So the PDFs from the proofs and the proofs that we might emit will be stored on Filecoin. So they are also decentralized. If Zero Labs goes bust, they are still there. Zero Labs, awesome. How can I help? TP FIL first.
Well, cool. It's been great chatting with you. Yeah. So, Belgium.
Oh, no problem. I was reading through the comments, and there's TP 5-star asking, "How can I help?" I think join the Discord's channels, Filecoin, Green, and ours, and we'll be happy to hear you. Sorry, I interrupted you, Alan. Go ahead.
No,
do you have any questions for us in the audience?
Let's get yeah.
I think there's one last question from Leo.
I think getting started as a Filecoin storage provider, that is sort of a big topic that I don't think we're gonna be able to cover in this this chat here. You can definitely, if you're interested, you can definitely check out the ESPA, like ESPA accelerator, or there's a bunch more resources online to get an idea of what that whole startup costs look like. Hida, do you have any more thoughts?
Yeah, we can do another chat on this one question alone, I think. But making things real short, it's quite a big investment to become a large SP. But you can start out from getting rewards from 10 tips and larger. While running your hard drives idle, it won't take any power, so you won't notice. And in a few months, we will be starting with a large part of the retrieval market. And then smaller entities and smaller endpoints will be able to earn Filecoin much faster. So my advice, wait 3 months and then take another look.
While we have a few last minutes, I just want to address Tippy's last question. Do we have any questions for you all? I think my overarching question is, let us know how we can help you all make more informed decisions about the energy consumption profile and therefore environmental impact of your interactions with Filecoin and with storing data for whatever type of use case you're using or you're looking to develop, whether it's NFT platform, and you want to make sure that individual buyers of those NFTs understand the environmental footprint, or if you're creating some decentralized exchange, you want to understand the environmental impact of every individual transaction, whatever it may be. By working at the data availability layer here with Filecoin and IPFS and building these tools at this low level, we're able to, we're working to expose them all the way through the tech stack, and we want to build the tools that are most relevant and most actionable for you all.
From my perspective, also, I have so many questions for the audience, like understanding who among the crypto communities also has these sustainability, thoughts and doubts and desires to take action, and what is their story, and how are they doing it, or how do they think crypto can have a role. So yeah, it's in line with what you said. Yeah.
There's also one thing happening in the Netherlands right now that's probably happening in more countries in the world. There's a lot of backfire against large data centers. We have a small country, we have limited space, but we also have a limited amount of power here. And there are weekly messages in the news about a lot of homes not being built because there's no power. But a few kilometers to the left, there's a large new data center being built. I think the focus for me as a small data center owner here in the Netherlands is to show them what the options are if you do go fully green, or at least try, compared to the big ones, which is still not happening today because the clients yet still do not care enough about how their data is stored. And if they go fully green, we will be the first.
Yeah, it's a global awareness problem. It's on branding, on how you give visibility to this. I think there's a programmability opportunity there as well. How do, hey, your storage is you're using green storage or not, but yeah, it needs independent verification and stuff. Yeah, it's a tough nut to crack, the visibility and awareness. Yeah. But,
yeah, and the important thing is making this fully transparent, because if they can make their own green label, they will, and they will be extremely green, set by themselves. But you need to be fully able to audit this externally and be fully transparent, and that's exactly what we are building with each other at the moment. So yeah, it's important.
And maybe there's a philosophical connection with oracles, like auditors are oracles. So maybe there is a opportunity to build something around that. So how do we build the people that verify these things in a decentralized way? How do we build people that verify that storage is actually green, or that that the renewable energy certificates that come from registries are actually there? So there's a layer of auditing, let's say, that could be connected to the Chainlink oracles. I'm just trying to find a connection for the hackers in the room.
Yeah, it's a truth machine for environmental impacts and what you're doing to reduce and mitigate them. Also, where Leo just in the chat said literally every business in the world has a business case for integrating crypto into what they're doing. I think that's totally true. And what that means for renewable energy is that if a business is wants to be transparent, right, about their environmental impacts, things like how much electricity they're consuming, where they're consuming it, how they're interacting with power grids, whether they're buying renewable energy, you just can't be as transparent as we need to be in order to combat the climate crisis using just fiat and Web 2, right? So in Web 2, when you're handing all of this information off along the value chain, that all relies on manually auditing everything that you're doing, right? And so what we really have the opportunity to do in the Web3 environmental movement is to make all of that automatic, right? So which doesn't necessarily mean that a business, an existing legacy business, has to reveal all of their internal workings, right? You can have a zero knowledge proof that shows that emissions coming in equal emissions going out, and you can hand that proof along with each of your customers in real time, right? Every few seconds, or at least many times a day, not just once a year, to everyone who depends on you. And then using that, right, using these crypto primitives, we should be able to push that sort of sustainability data through supply chains in minutes, not in months. But that really does depend on companies throughout the world and throughout the economy adopting crypto and using these tools and integrating them into their business model. So this is an area where there's this huge opportunity to change things for the better environmentally, right, by adopting a lot of these tools that are really going to allow you to do that environmental accounting much better. So that's sort of our perspective on how we're thinking about a lot of this. And I think that if you have those zero knowledge proofs to glue together everything that every interface at which you have a Web3 native company or Web3 native toolset talking to another Web3 native toolset, then there's a lot of opportunity to have things like oracles in order to glue together where those interfaces where a Web3 native toolset is talking to a non-Web3 native toolset, which could be something like renewable energy markets, could be something like your power provider, could be whatever sorts of variables you have that are out there in the world that are not yet in a Web3 native format, right? So you need both of those things in order to take all that data, ingest it in real time, and then pass it through and ultimately allow people to make decisions to reduce their impacts. And Ashpreet just wrote, FIL is IPFS storage where you can store images and videos, etc. Yeah, exactly. So IPFS allows you to content address data and then retrieve it. Filecoin allows you to store that data over time, and they work together. So you can store data on Filecoin and make it available to be retrieved over IPFS. And I think we're at time. So thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Onwards and upwards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Exactly. All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
See ya.